The horror movies you were raised on are dead. Now, rather than relying on subtlety or suggestion, horror must be exploitative and it must comment on society in some way. Now, death can reach out from your phones and media devices. Now, villains must have reasons, or in the case of many reboots, backstories. But that doesn't mean it's all awful and devoid of scares. Even after the genre hit the skids, there have been some horrors that stand shoulder to shoulder with the very best. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and here are the 10 best horror movies of the 2000s. Number 10, Session 9. Session 9 is a finely crafted, low-budget horror film that is deeply reminiscent of Kubrick's The Shining and yet involves zero on-screen violence or gore. Instead, it works on atmosphere, using audio recordings, chilling piano keys, and lingering shots of desolated rooms and hallways to build something both creepy and mysterious, and it all combines to make an intense psychological horror about the dangers of a haunted past and the darkness that exists in all of us. Number 9. Let the Right One In. Let the Right One In is far from the average boy meets vampire girl next door. It's a finely crafted art film that fits in among foreign greats like City of God and Amelie, with a hugely poignant plot and stirring performances from its two young leads. Stood next to the terrifyingly popular but intensely mediocre Twilight movies, this might as well be a masterpiece, and it was so good that even the 2010 Hollywood remake Let Me In managed to work. Still, watch the original, yeah? Number 8. Ginger Snaps. Ginger Snaps is loaded with painful teenage issues like drugs, alienation, rebellion, sexual promiscuity, and relationships blended with dark humor that does an excellent job at being the best and most complete werewolf movie in recent memory. Rather than turn to CGI, the film employs prosthetic and practical effects for the numerous transformation scenes that strangely mirror the painful and sometimes gruesome physical changes that come with puberty. Yay! The result is one of the most original cinematic takes on lycanthropy, or puberty, for that matter. Number 7. Trick or Treat. Horror movies and Halloween are practically synonymous, and this criminally underrated direct-to-DVD anthology is the ultimate homage to the holiday. The suspense may feel old-fashioned, but what you'll definitely notice is the sheer amount of love that goes into the production. The four interweaving tales are great fun to watch, and Sam, the perennial pumpkin-headed antagonist, is the perfect embodiment of Halloween. It should be noted that Trick or Treat was originally set to be released in 2007, however the studio was hesitant about the film's on-screen violence, and it was sent to the DVD shelves instead 2 years later. That was never a mark of poor quality, however, and the film deserves a lot of praise. Number 6. Shutter. In the early 2000s, Asian horror rose in prominence with titles like The Eye, One Missed Call, and A Tale of Two Sisters. A chunk of these films emerged from Japan and even impressed Hollywood studios into developing American remakes of such titles like The Grudge. Yet, while providing inventive, tension-addled, and remarkably bloodless scares, the films suffered from confusing and often forgettable plots that often veered towards the psychological. Then, from Thailand, there came Shutter. While possessing the trappings of its peers, Shutter had a story that was interesting and characters that you actually cared for. Number 5. The Descent. The Descent is a film of surprising quality. The production is top class, its editing isn't over-stylized, the film simply looks great, and the cast is superb. As a horror film, it's also regarded as one of the best to emerge in recent memory. It plays on the same beats as Alien, using the darkness as a suspense-building jackhammer, making the tension increasingly palpable, especially once the true threats are revealed. In short, it's an enjoyable ride into the darkness of the human psyche while still satisfying genre aficionados and rabid gorehounds alike. Number 4. The Mist. There's a lot to love about The Mist. In a year when torture porn horror became the new black in Hollywood thanks to the Hostel and Saw franchises, this Frank Darabont creature feature managed to stand out. It's the kind of flick that almost belonged in the black and white drive-in movie theaters of the 60s. The monsters here are both wonderfully rendered and almost dreamlike, with appearances that would make H.P. Lovecraft giddy. Ultimately, The Mist would go down in cinema history as having one of the bleakest, most infuriating endings in any recent film, but that doesn't ruin its quality at all. Number 3. Martyrs. There's no way to skip around it. The first 5 minutes of Martyrs features a tame and painfully normal morning obliterated in a senseless bloodbath. What follows next is the kind of downward spiral reserved for cult artsy grotesqueries like The Human Centipede and a Serbian film. However, throughout the film, Martyrs retains its cohesiveness without relenting on the on-screen brutality. The plot's originality and themes ultimately make it a tough nut to crack. It expertly walks the line between thought-provoking and seriously disturbing. It is divisive even amongst horror fans, with one group applauding its profoundness and uniqueness, with the other wanting to throw it into the fire for all the night terrors they now have. Number 2. REC. In the field of horror, the found footage approach can be extremely tricky to pull off without appearing gimmicky, dizzying, or just confusing, which is exactly why REC is so well thought of. It accomplishes what Hollywood films like The Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity, and Cloverfield all tried to do, injecting the horror at its core with unnerving believability. And while there's a lot to be terrified about in this movie, REC also happens to be a load of fun to watch. It's frantically placed and filled with great characters, and while other movies of this type leave audiences wondering why someone would still leave a camera running, REC actually gives concrete reasons for its protagonists to film everything. Number 1. Inside. For lifelong horror fans, the praise leveled at Inside should come as no surprise. It is, after all, the most rewarding movie of the new wave of extreme French horrors. All the ingredients of a modern horror film are present, from the pitch-black shadows of an empty house to the claustrophobia of a locked room to a ruthless, unpredictable, and nigh unstoppable villain. It has atmosphere and imagery by the boatload. It is downright relentless. Once things start to go south, the threats, the actions, even the body count just build and build. And yes, Inside is bloody. There's no sense trying to sugarcoat it. It is gruesome, leaving entire rooms, stairs, and hallways drenched in crimson. But it's great if you like that sort of thing. And that's our list. Make sure you subscribe to the Whatculture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and thanks for watching.